can I trust you when ish hits the fan?
Right. How do you do relationship when after trust has been broken? No, I know it's two different things.
I think that trust comes with clear expectations.
Trust is really hard with people, with imperfect people.
If they take accountability or not, we still have to grieve.
Right.
I don't grieve that once when my parents divorced when I was a kid. I grieve that every single time that we have a Thanksgiving and both of my parents can't be there. Hey, beautiful people, I'm Tina Morales.
And I'm Kiera Johnson.
And welcome to the Stories That Shape Us podcast, where we dive deep into the stories that have shaped who we are and who we're becoming.
We are so thrilled to have you join us. We are here to engage openly in hard conversations around faith, identity, relationships, and so much more.
Yes, if you want to peek into the journeys of healing and becoming, then we invite you to listen in on the conversation and leave transformed. Get ready for thought-provoking conversation, a whole lot of heart, and join us on this journey through the stories that shape us. Hey, real quick. Are you sick and tired of getting into the same fights with your partner over and over again? Are you sick of feeling misunderstood and disconnected? If so, I get it, which is why I created an ebook just for you. In Crushing Conflict, you're going to get a guide about how to get out of the chaos. You're going to learn why you keep getting stuck in the same cycle over and over again. You're going to learn how to get unstuck with several practical tools. And you're going to learn how you can create lasting change in your relationship. If that's you, I invite you to click the link in the description below and grab your copy today. I hope that blesses you. Welcome back. We are here. We are here with another episode. How are we doing today?
We're doing great.
Yeah.
I'm settling the fall. Life is good.
Sweater season.
Girl,
I love it.
I only have a closet for sweaters. I struggle during summer. I do.
Yeah. I love sweaters. I bring me back to the 90s TLC attire.
That's a dream.
Literally, give me big baggy clothes that I can just wrap myself up in.
Yes. Yes.
That is my preference.
Same.
But that's cozy. Yeah. Fall season is where we are doing it. Today, we are talking about trust. I'm really excited about this conversation because I think that it is so foundational to who we are, but also how we build relationships with people. How to trust, when to trust, how to know we're trusting or not trusting, like all the things.
All of that.
So when you think about trust, kind of where does your mind go first?
I think through trusting God versus trusting people. It's like two different ball games.
Yeah.
And I also think, when I think trust, I think of times my trust has been broken. And I think oftentimes it's because it was often misplaced.
Oh.
Like to begin with.
Okay.
And that's kind of where my mind starts to go. I'm like, it's two different processes. Trusting God and trusting people. And you pointed to some of it. Like, how do you know when to trust? Is trust earned? Do you just start off with trust? Like, it's just one of those things you constantly deal with.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So let's start with trusting God.
Yep.
And trusting people.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about, like, when you're talking about, like, these are two different ball games or kind of whatever, where does your mind go?
So I think trusting God, I'm thinking, he doesn't have to earn my trust. He is good. He is righteous. He is all knowing. I have to activate that belief in him. And sometimes it can be challenged, but I trust him. He is he. Yeah. He is him.
I am.
Yes, exactly. And so there's like an order and a comfort in that. But trust is really hard with people, with imperfect people. And how to know when to, how to know what to do when it's broken. That's where it gets more muddled for me, is the trusting in people or things.
The trusting in people or things. Okay.
And should you not?
with the trusting in God and trusting in people, my mind kind of goes to how like, where do you think it comes from for you, right? Like, if you think through your own story, where does it come from for you where you're like, trusting in God is like, it's almost like not questionable. Like, I can trust in him. Like, that's like, I can do that. Because my mind kind of thinks about the people who maybe don't trust in God so readily.
Right.
And are like, well, no, actually, that's harder for me to trust in God than to trust in people.
I find that when I've wavered, me personally, when I've wavered on God, my whole life shakes. Me and Corey one time had a good conversation, and he was like, that's my one anchor point. He's like, God is good. I don't know about all this other craziness. God is good. That is immovable.
Yeah.
And so I try to adopt that mentality, and I'm not perfect, but nothing else. This world is crazy. Like, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense, but he is, that fact of him being good and trustworthy and righteous and wanting what's best for me, it can't move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it moves, then it's like, it's hard to make sense of anything for me.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like he is the anchor point.
He is the anchor point
for all things.
Yes.
It's, for me, like, when I think about this, I can see where it would be difficult to trust God over people. Simply because you can't see God. Yeah. But you can see people. Yeah. Right? And so, and other aspects of life. You get reassurance
from people. Like, you're here. You said you're going to be here. I've talked to you before. You've done it before.
I can see you. You've shown up. You've been consistent. You've told me the truth with your words. Like, I can,
Yep, that's real.
But I also think that, like, for me in my walk, I think I started to really trust God with, like, my life when my life went to shambles. So, like, for me in my walk, I trusted in everything I could see. Trusted in people, trusted in money, trusted in relationships, trusted in results, success, like all that stuff. I can trust in that because I can see it.
Yeah.
But when all of that went away for me, when all of that kind of dissipated, that thing, it was movable, it was temporary, like, all that stuff started to go. That is when I think, for me, I started to see God truly for who he is, which he is truly immovable. He is truly constantly there and constantly present, you know? And so this is kind of where my mind goes with trust, is like, I don't think that we can trust without going through some sort of conflict or issue, right? Like, so for example, with couples, I think about in the beginning of relationships, couples, like, where everything's good. Everything is
honeymoon phase. Yeah.
I like you. I'm seeing all the good sides of you. I'm showing you all the good sides of me, whatever. But it's like, I think you can know the strength of a relationship when we get into a conflict.
Yeah.
And like, that's how I know can I trust you when ish hits the fan?
Right. Yeah.
Can I trust you when things are hard? Can I trust you with my emotions? Can I trust you with my life?
Right.
Can I trust that you are going to keep my heart secure, or treat my heart with the same tenderness as if it were your own?
So it's like, can you start with trust and it's kind of like tested and then strengthened?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be truly strong, like, I guess, varying levels of trust.
Yeah. I do think trust is earned.
Yeah.
Like, just the idea of, is trust just kind of like automatic? Or is it earned? In my personal experience, I would say that trust is earned. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to, I'm just all out here avoiding everything.
You start off with, so much distrust. It doesn't mean you have to have distrust.
Right.
It just means you're kind of neutral until proven trustworthy.
Oh, I like that you said that, because it's not black and white.
Yeah.
I either trust you or I don't.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things. Maybe I trust you with this, but I'm working on trusting you with this other thing.
Right.
So it's not black and white. I think it's on a spectrum.
Yep.
But yeah, I do think there's an aspect of this where it is earned through small moments over time.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Yeah. I feel like, but how do you address, maybe, I'm reflecting on times where maybe I've been hurt. It's small things. Maybe I trusted someone to get some milk from the grocery store. Corey. No, I'm just kidding. And I didn't get the milk. Yes. Right? It's like, oh, girl. When is it truly like my trust was broken versus maybe faulty expectations we have of someone or a thing, and we shouldn't have trusted it in the first place? And no fault to that person or the thing, but that's just not where your trust belongs. Is often where I feel like I've been like trusting in your own effort too much. For example, I remember working really, really hard in 2016. My finance career, going super hard, late hours, all the things. Yeah. And my body started to break down. That's when I started getting migraines. So yeah, I'm trusting in a body that needs rest, that needs water and food. And I put faulty expectations on myself. So it's sort of like, ooh, you know what I would say to that? Yeah. I love that you're bringing in the expectations, because I do think that trust comes with clear expectations. Like, I don't think that we can say I don't trust you if the expectation wasn't set. That's that. You know? Yeah. Yep. Like, the expectation needs to be clear. Now my mind is going to how oh goodness, how good God is. Yes. Because I do think that his expectations are clear in terms of, like, if you give me your heart, if you give me your life, right, you can literally trust that I will do what I say I'm going to do. Yes. But that requires risk. That means I have to put myself in a place of dependency to see if you'll actually follow through. Girl. Yeah. Yeah. Like, just going to relationships, right? Yeah. Like, if the expectation is set that, like, you are going to go get me this milk. Okay. Yeah. You're going to get me, like, the expectation is set. I asked you to go get me this milk. Right. And then you don't do it. Right. Now that, like, that can break at the trust, right? And I do think there's levels. Of course. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because I love that we're saying, like, trust is built in small moments over time. It can be broken drastically, and it can be chipped away at in small amounts, I think also. Right. And so the other thing is, if I don't ever ask you for something and you don't do the thing that I expected in my mind that I didn't communicate, then I can't say that you're untrustworthy. Right. How do you do relationship when after trust has been broken? No, I know it's two different things. After it's been, maybe that's a whole other episode. I don't know. But no, that's a great question. How do you do relationship when trust has been broken, whether it's been chipped away or drastically, but you want to do relationship? How do you do that? Like, how do you work through that? Oh, two things coming to my mind. One, I think you have to grieve it. Like, we can't bypass that. No. Yeah. Ooh. I think you have, I've experienced broken trust, right, in my relationships and in certain relationships in life. I've also worked with clients who've really experienced some, like, just painful breaches of trust, right? And when our trust is broken, I think we're like, earn it back. Yeah. We kind of go straight into that. Okay, well, if we're going to have a relationship, now I'm standing at this position and all you have to do is earn my trust back, and I'm going to be over here. Right. Now I'm like righteous indignation, righteous anger, which at the end of the day, yeah, absolutely be angry. Your trust was broken. Right.
At the same time, if we stay there, trust will never be rebuilt.
Right.
And so I think a step to rebuilding trust is, one, grieving the fact that it was broken in the first place. Like, I really don't think that we can move forward without grieving and experiencing the hurt that broken trust produced.
Especially if that person takes accountability for it or not.
Oof, yes. If they take accountability or not, we still have to grieve.
Right.
We still have to experience the pain of it, which I know, like, my goodness, yikes.
Yeah. We
tried to avoid that. But I think this goes back to one of the episodes that we talked about. Until we allow ourselves to, like, break open, I don't think that we're going to have an opportunity to heal. It makes me think of like when we get a wound. If we get like a laceration in our body, you gotta let that thing like be opened up to heal it. You gotta put stuff into that broken area to start healing it, and that needs to be covered and cared for. But then it also needs to be opened again to the air. Like, it has to experience the pain of it.
Right.
But that's what I would say is, like, step one in terms of like, what do we do after trust has been broken is, one, I truly think that like we have to go through the process of grieving. And I don't think that's like a one time, I cried about it and now I'm done.
It's not a one time.
No. It is
because sometimes when trust has been broken and whatever, friendships, family, anything, there's that expectation. It's like, oh, you were sad about it already. Like, get over it. Right.
No. Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear you say it's not necessarily one and done. Like, it's a process.
Absolutely. I think of, I'll get into number 2 later, but I'll give an example of this. For kids, as children.
Yep.
So I come from a family where my parents were divorced. And I think that's a break of trust.
1000%. Me too, man. Oh,
right?
Yes.
So like, even as children, the broken trust that we experience, right? So the interesting thing is, first stage of, so there's a psychologist who had a theory of psychosocial development. Right? Like how we develop as humans. Psychologically and socially.
Yep.
So the very first stage is trust versus mistrust.
Yes. Okay.
That happens between 0 and 18 months.
Okay.
Can I trust that you will care for me, that I'll be there? Because I'm super dependent on you.
Yeah.
Keep me safe, keep me secure, like all of that. And how we go through that stage, the conflict is, can I trust you?
Right.
And it's not, yes, I can, or no, I can't. Are you consistent enough that you build up that process of trust?
Right.
Because you're not perfect. You're going to drop the ball at some point.
Perfect. Yeah.
But
especially when they can't communicate. But yeah.
Right. But essentially, trust is saying, do I feel safe and secure enough to depend on you?
Right.
Like, do I feel safe and secure enough to depend on you? To put my emotional, physical needs in your hands.
Ooh, yeah, that's hard. Oh, it's hard. It's hard.
And imagine coming from a divorce household, where as kids, our parents are that security.
Absolutely, it's your foundation for your life.
Literally,
yes.
And so, like, I don't think we talk about that as like, oh, my parents broke my trust.
No, yeah.
But like, if there's ever been a moment where our parents didn't meet our needs or neglected us emotionally or physically or abused us emotionally or physically, right? Like, if there was any moment of that, like, that's a break in our trust factor has been broken, has been chipped away at. And so to grieve that is to recognize, man, something that I think that we are wired for
Mm-hmm.
We are wired to be able to depend on someone else.
To do relationships.
We're wired to depend.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard already. You're wired to depend, and then you have imperfect people.
Yeah.
And it gets challenged.
Yes. We're wired to depend and to be depended on.
Right.
Right? And so I just think very practically, like even as, and I'm just giving the example of coming from a divorced household.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to.
Right.
But like even there, like we've had our trust broken. And so how do we grieve that? I'm sorry, this is why I brought that up. Because I don't grieve that once when my parents divorced when I was a kid. I grieve that every single time that we have a Thanksgiving and both of my parents can't be there. I grieve it every single time I have a wedding and I have to interview. Every time I had a wedding. I had one. I had one wedding.
No,
and
it's hard.
I got to invite them separately.
Every holiday season. Every time you have to spend time here and even it out here.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So when you make commitments of your own, when you do something new, when you embark on marriage, you have to address some of that. It's constant.
Woo. Every time that my partner does something that reminds me of what my parents did,
girl,
I gotta grieve it.
Jesus.
Every time.
Yeah, no, for real. It's that's not one time at all.
No. And so I think step one is grieve.
Yeah.
Like really grieve. Allow yourself to experience it. Because if not, I think, man, you are blocking yourself from your healing.
Yeah.
You're blocking yourself of truly having an intimate relationship. And I think that's where step two comes in.
Instead of burying it. Like you bury what you want to hold on to, or what was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then one, grieving it, but then two, this is the one, man. It's hard to hear.
Ugh, I'm ready, bracing myself.
But two is taking the risk.
Yeah.
To place your needs in their hands again.
Again, you have to. Oh, it's so hard, but you have to if you're going to do relationship.
There is no relationship without taking the risk.
Right. That's where grace and forgiveness.
Oof. All of it.
Right.
You know what? Bringing up forgiveness. Well, grace and forgiveness. When you think about those two things, I'm very a visual thinker.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, what picture comes to your mind? But if a picture doesn't come to your mind, like when you think about grace and forgiveness, kind of how do you think about that practically, visually, like whatever that looks like?
When I think of grace, I almost think of being okay with the process of things being out of harmony. And giving them time and space to get back into harmony is what I think of grace. It's just like moving water. It's like, okay, it's not perfect today. This hurt me. You know, I wish you would do this. I wish you would do that. But I know at least we're both committed to the relationship. So if you don't have the intention of doing a relationship, then I think I'm not sure you should do a relationship with that person if that person doesn't have the intention, right?
Absolutely.
Assuming, though, this person made a mistake, small or big, or over time just chipped away at your trust. But they're intentional about wanting to do a relationship with you. It just isn't always perfect, but allowing time and space to get back into harmony.
Oh, that's
is what I envision grace as.
Yeah. Like grace also comes with kind of like knowing that other person's either heart or intention.
Knowing their heart, knowing their intention. And just knowing they're not perfect.
Yeah.
That we're getting there. Every step we're getting there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like what you're saying. It's like, I think it's very like open-handed. It's very like flexible.
Very flexible.
Versus rigid. Because I'm kind of seeing like again, I'm very visual. So like, I'm seeing that as like, I don't know, what's the opposite of grace? Not grace?
Yeah. Not grace.
Yeah, whatever the opposite of grace is kind of like very rigid. It's very like not structured, because structure is good, but like it's very rigid, it's very harsh, it's very like, I think prison.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like there's just like no levity, no, I mean, when I think of the fruits of the spirit, there's just no patience. There's no, grace is, I think, just leaving space for things to.
Grace is black and white. I'm sorry, the opposite of grace is black.
Yeah, it's opposite of black and white. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Like grace is flexible. Grace looks at context. Grace.
Yes. Oh, context, y'all.
Yes.
Context.
It's not formulaic.
No. It's not rigid. It's not, no.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I think grace. When I think forgiveness. Maybe you're putting the visuals. Normally I'm not that visual when I'm thinking, but like I see like just, it's constant, y'all. Like it's like a wheel. Yeah. What day is it? Monday? Yeah. Like it's it is a cycle of just, you're constantly forgiving. Like constantly forgiving.
Constantly. I'm thinking of, I'll be very honest when it comes to forgiveness.
Yeah.
I don't think that I was ever taught how to forgive. I think I was told to forgive.
Do I know how? I think so. Maybe. I don't know. I thought I did. Maybe we could talk about it.
But I think it's so funny because, like, I think you're just taught to forgive.
Yeah.
Like, whether you're spiritual or not, like in church or not, like, I just think you're taught, like, oh, forgive. Like, that's like a good thing to do. But as a Christian, it's like a mandate.
Right.
It's like, no, you must forgive because
you have to. Like, you can't hold it in your heart.
No. And at the end of the day, you've been forgiven so much.
And that's one of the things that helps me too. And I know in marriage especially, we have to forgive often.
Yeah.
But it helps me to remember that I am on nobody's high horse. And so, I mean, it's a balance, because you don't, just because someone does something wrong, you know, be like, well, I also did this. So that kind of like, they could do that. I don't mean that.
No.
But I just mean, just remembering that you too make mistakes. And like, imagine if that was held on your record all the time with everyone you loved. And that's why I try to practice, like, I'm just gonna, in a sense, like, grieve it. Hopefully you can be honest about it, all those things, but then kind of like, we're past it. I can't keep record of that.
Yeah. Because keeping record of it does not actually make things better. I think it makes it worse.
It makes it worse.
Like, it becomes an internal battle within yourself.
Right. And you do it because you're scared. And it's like, you almost want to remind the person, like, hey, you've forgotten the milk 20 times. And I don't want you to do it 21 times. I don't want you to do it 21 times. So it's like, I'm trying to protect myself. But no, you don't help that person.
Yeah.
You're not building trust again when you're keeping record of wrong. And imagine you, like, if I don't want my wrongs thrown in my face when I'm trying to do the next right thing.
Yeah.
Those are the things I think about when I think of grace and forgiveness.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I really I don't know, I had that picture when you were talking about grace. I'm like, oh, that's like, it feels very, it's just open-handed. It feels free, like there's space.
Yeah. I almost picture like a jazz band or something, and maybe someone just gets out of harmony a little bit. They don't really stop. They just get back in harmony. And I think that's kind of what.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I like that.
Get back in harmony.
Yeah.
Maybe off for a second, you know?
Yeah. You also brought up the record, not keeping a record of wrongs.
Right.
And I wonder how that ties in with trust, right? Like, because it's interesting, right? I think trust is something where it's like, I like to call it like an evidence list, specifically with God in your life. I think it's so important, like when you're going through a tough season, to look back on what God has like saved you from, or what God has done in your life, like those little miracles, those little things that God has done to help you get through a difficult situation in the past, like mark those and write those down. I think that's like an evidence list. Like I have to be able to look back on that in terms of trust. And at the same time, we're talking about to not keep a record of the wrongs, but I'm saying keep a record of the moments where things went well.
Right.
And so I think it's interesting because at the end of the day, it's not about the record, I don't think. I think what it's about is what you choose to focus on.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's your intention. So if I'm going to keep a record of all the wrong things you did, I don't know if I can honestly say I want a relationship or how I want a healthy relationship. If I'm just like, he did this that day or she did this that day and then this and then this and then this, I'm not fostering a spirit of wanting that anymore. But if I'm intentionally doing a relationship with you, like we are God, I told you, no matter what I'm feeling, even if something isn't going my way, God's an immovable, he's good. He is him, he is I am. And I'm keeping that evidence list because I believe that. And that evidence list is going to help me to remember my intention and his intention with me. So we should do the same thing with people. It's just harder with people. It's hard with God too.
It is. Absolutely.
Because you don't always get the reassurance. And obviously faith is you're believing something you can't see. So it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's hard too, because I think a lot of times we experience God through the people in our lives. Yes. She's like, whole thoughts.
Yeah.
I think it can be hard because hard. Yeah, I think it can be hard because our perspective or the way that we view God, and we talked about this a little bit in terms of our attachment to him, is influenced by the people who have so-called represented him in our lives. You know? True. And so, I mean, man, if we've had the blessing of having people who are truly godly and like Jesus loving people in our lives, and they've embodied him and his characteristics, then yeah, like the way that we view God and who he is in our lives, I think we have a benefit or an advantage.
We do.
On the other side, if we've had people who've so-called represented God and they've been hurtful and they haven't loved us and they haven't, just cared for us in a way that is truly godly, like my perspective of God is going to be like, well, if that's how
it needs a whole reset. It's just,
like we really, I do think that our experiences truly influence how we view him, and our ability to trust him. And I think with that, I think there's also a piece of trusting myself. Do I trust myself if I've been in relationships with people who have been untrustworthy?
Girl, trusting yourself is, yeah.
Right? Because I think when we've been misled, when we've been hurt by people, absolutely. Like like now my trust with you is broken, but then like my trust myself.
Trust you. So my trusting me and my decisions is broken. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
It becomes traumatic.
That is hard.
It shocks our sense of reality. And our sense of decision making, our sense of self. It's like, if I could have trusted in someone who could have done something like this to me, what does that say about me?
Right.
And so I think trust is one of those things that's so fragile.
It is.
And it could be our greatest strength when we recognize that, man, like when we recognize how fragile it is, we care for it so much more. And I think when we care for it so much more, it can become such a strength.
Mm-hmm.
The trust in myself. If I know that can be fragile, I have to care for how I trust myself.
You do.
So much more.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with other people.
Right.
It's not so flippant.
I'm on the trusting yourself. That's just.
Yeah, what thoughts are coming to your mind?
It challenges your reality, like you said. And then, so it's one thing that someone else did something and challenged your reality and your beliefs about them or your beliefs about a thing.
Yeah.
But then when you kind of start to lose that confidence and trust in yourself, it makes your reality even more fragile. But to your point, I go back to like, well, what do I do when I've lost trust in myself and my decisions, or maybe lost confidence? And I go back to like grieving and understanding it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe there's taking risks, maybe there's some wisdom to that. On yourself, yes. I mean, you have to build relationship with you have to be in good relationship with yourself. More to come. But
yes,
you have to do relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
So of course taking the risk there. And then with others, taking the risk, allowing yourself to depend on them and be dependent on, but even applying wisdom and how that's done and when that's done.
Yeah.
And treating it like the fragile thing that it is. And you have a right to do that.
Yeah. Ooh. So my question, I love what you just said about taking that risk to trust yourself. What would you say is maybe something that feels, I don't know if I'm asking the question right, but something that feels risky to trust yourself with in terms of trusting yourself?
Yeah. I would say when you're doing, we talked about, divorced households and when you're younger and how you kind of have to grieve that in stages. And sometimes you grieve that and have to process that again, even when you get married.
Yeah.
But almost like when you didn't get the opportunity to see it work out with your parents and you don't have a framework or foundation.
Yes.
And trusting yourself. So it's not a case where my trust was broken in me as a kid, but still having to embark on something new for me. Yeah. And I'm going to get married and I'm going to do this and I'm going to have this intention.
Yeah.
And just being willing to take that risk. I think one thing that just came to mind is like maybe the power of love can get me through that risk. I love my husband. I wanted to take that risk. Yeah. I love God. I want to trust him even when things are hard. I love myself. I want to love myself. So I want to try again. I want to allow myself to trust.
Yeah.
And it's a process.
Yeah. I love what you're saying about love. Like love is the thing that I think kind of, I don't know if it's like it motivates us or it gives us the confidence or the courage. I think love gives us the courage to trust.
It does. It gives us the courage to trust, and it's the why of it all.
Yeah.
This existence without love is, what does that look like? It's the why.
Yeah.
That keeps,
What I think is really, really cool about love is that it doesn't have to make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It does not have to make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. Oh, stop it. It doesn't. Ooh.
Because when you think about it, I mean, this is where I think it's so important, just as we are spiritual beings at the end of the day, right? Like our body is here, we have our mind and our emotions and all those things. But at the end of the day, like we are spiritual beings. And I feel like God this is why I keep going back to God, right? Because at the end of the day, it has to be more than just my thoughts and my emotions.
Right.
Everything in life, this meaning that I make, has to be more than just these things, right? And so I think when you look at love, the way that God loves us, it does not make sense.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
It's zero.
Mm-mm.
We are arrogant, I think of when I think of teenagers, like that stage of development, like when teenagers are supposedly like, they're constantly talking back to their parents. They're like, no, I want to be my own independent self. I don't need you.
Right.
But I actually do need you.
Right.
Like, I think we're all teenagers.
We're all the things. Yeah.
When it comes to our relationship with God. God's our parent, and we're like teenagers who are like, no, I don't need you. I'm good. I done figured it out. I just want to go live my independent life. Don't tell me what I can and cannot do.
Right. Rebelling.
Yes.
For the sake of rebelling. Yeah.
I just feel like that's how we can be with God. And like his love for us makes no sense.
Right.
If we wanted to make it rational, he would have every right to be like, forget y'all.
Yes.
Y'all rebellious.
Right.
Disobedient.
I think that
arrogant.
Yeah. Yeah. No logical reason.
Literally.
But it's because of who he is. He is love, and he loves you because of who he is and not because of who you are or who you aren't. And so that ties me back to where you combine trust and strength.
Amen.
Is like when you choose to be loving and choose to trust and do relationship with someone.
You don't do it because of who they are. You do it because of who you are.
Right.
This is character.
Right.
It's, oh man, it ties back to who you are.
Yeah. So powerful.
Goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Trusting, loving, forgiving is not about the other person.
Bar.
Drop the mic.
Bar. That's not. It's amazing. Wow.
Oh, goodness. All right. My question for you is, who do you want to be?
Yeah. Really? Really?
Oh, I needed that for me. I needed that, y'all. Can I just be real?
That was amazing. It really is. It's not about the other person.
Yeah. Trust, love, and forgiveness is about who you are, who you want to be. Man. And I think that the only way that we can be who we are, or truly like living to who we want to be, is when we recognize who God is and how he is with us. I just feel like that's
it.
You need a model. That's it right there.
I have nothing else. That is powerful. Yeah. That's so powerful.
And we're done.
Yes.
Reflect on that and join us for the next one.
Yes.
We love y'all.
Mwah.
Bye.